I think a lot of us know the power of AI, but it's not top of mind.
I was using it to write better emails. I was using it to major in the minors.
The true game changer isn't using AI to craft better emails. It's harnessing AI to elevate your strategic thinking.
Your ability as a leader to think strategically is the difference between growing your business or going out of business. Tech is not what matters. It's the leaders who wield it.
Gang, this might be the most important podcast we've ever done around artificial intelligence. Not because it's the only one, but because our guest is going to describe to you exactly how you can put this to use in your life and see a change immediately. In his book, which has become the #1 bestseller on AI, he says the true game changer isn't using AI to craft better emails. It's harnessing AI to elevate your strategic thinking. AI will enhance you, not replace you. This gentleman ran the back office of The One Thing, and today travels the world teaching people how to get the most out of AI. The book that he wrote is called The AI-Driven Leader. Friends, I'm talking about none other than Geoff Woods. In today's episode, he's going to walk through exactly how to put AI to use in your business, how to get more out of your life, and most importantly, how to absolutely become limitless. Sit back and buckle up. This is Geoff Woods. And I am joined by an old friend, Geoff Woods. Geoff, how are you, sir?
I am doing awesome, Jason. Good to see you, man.
I'm so excited about this conversation. We've had it on the books and we've had the reschedule, so thank you. For those of you in the audience that don't know, Geoff literally ran the business behind the book, The One Thing, which was written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, who coincidentally also happened to write The Millionaire Real Estate Agent with their writing partner, Dave Jenks. May he rest in peace. So Geoff, I'm dying to ask, how do you go from that business to writing The AI-Driven Leader and become the industry expert for all things artificial intelligence?
It was March of 22 when I sold my stake in the business behind The One Thing. And honestly, Jason, I didn't know what was next. I was prepared to take a few years just to figure that out. It didn't go that long, though. I got a call from a guy named Naveen Jindal, who's the chairman of a giant steel company out of India, publicly traded. I had been his coach when I was with The One Thing. And when he found out that I had left the company, he called me and he asked, what's next? And I said, honestly, I don't know. And he goes, well, why don't you come in-house? And I asked him, what would the job description be? And he goes, honestly, you know our business better than I do. Why don't you tell me? And I thought, I asked myself a pretty big question, which is, what are my strengths that I want to focus on mastering for the rest of my life? What are the biggest problems that they face? And what are the skills that I would love to develop that I've never had the opportunity to develop? What's the intersection of those three? And I wrote a job description that frankly would require me to step into way bigger shoes than I had ever stepped in before, and ended up becoming the chief growth officer for all his operating companies. So we're talking about 100,000 people around the world. And over a 4-year period, we grew the market cap from 750 million to 12 billion.
Wow.
It was an incredible journey. And while I was there, I saw ChatGPT. When I saw it, it had literally only been out for 2 weeks. And I remember thinking to myself, this is pretty cool, but I'm really busy. I'll get to it later. And then I thought, actually, I have a huge IT team. They'll figure this out. Or you know what? We can just hire any consulting company. They can do it for us. But then I was reminded of a piece of advice I got my senior year of college. Don't ask what's the right job. Ask what are the skills I can master that are so valuable they will serve me no matter where I go.
It's good.
And when I thought of that quote, Jason, I was like, holy crap, I think this is the next skill. I got to master this. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to get to my lead domino. I'm going to get to one thing. I'm going to use it once a day. Because I know if I knock that domino down, everything else will fall. And what happened very quickly is I was disappointed because it felt like a waste of time. I was using it to write better emails. But who has been promoted or built a great business because they were the best email writer? None of us. I was using it to major in the minors. And this is when I took a page out of the one thing. Don't focus on all the things you can do. Focus on the one thing you can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And that's when I realized your ability as a leader to think strategically is the difference between growing your business or going out of business. The best agents in the world are very strategic thinkers about the types of business that they do, how they work with clients, how they scale team, all of that. And I started using it as a thought partner for strategy.
I love it. In the book on page 8, and I'll tee you off, man, you write, the true game changer isn't using AI to craft better emails. It's harnessing AI to elevate your strategic thinking. You go on to say, AI will enhance you, not replace you.
And I experienced this. I remember I was flying to India every quarter. I'm at the chairman's house, and I showed him how I was using this for strategy. I remember I wrote a prompt where I pulled in, I have a prompt framework called CRIT. Stands for context, role, interview, task. If you just follow that method, you're going to have amazing outputs. And I wrote context, here's our annual business plan. It literally pulled in the business plan of the company. Role, your role is to act as an aggressive, growth-minded board member with deep expertise in the steel industry, vertically integrated from distribution to mining. Interview me. Ask me one question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain deeper context about where our plan is insufficient. Task, tell me all the places the plan is insufficient and how I can plug the gaps in the next 30 days. I mean, that blew his mind. And he looks at me and goes, this is the future. Or he goes, this is incredible. I go, yeah, it's the future. He goes, I agree. And I said, we should drive it through the whole company. He goes, I agree. You need to own this as chairman of the board. And he goes, I disagree. Why don't you do it? Problem is, I knew nothing about AI, but something I learned from my time with Gary and Jay was anytime you're hitting a ceiling of achievement, you're missing what, Jason? A person who, if I'm asking, how do I drive this through the company? I'm asking the wrong question. I started asking, who can I get into relationship with that could enable me to drive this through the company? And that led to me partnering with Google. I started going to their headquarters in Delhi every quarter. I learned all about tech. And as we started to drive this through the company, it became so clear to me, tech is not what matters. It's the leaders who wield it. And so it was such a clear calling to me. I burnt the ships and said, okay, I got to write a book about this. I got to turn it into a company. The AI-Driven Leader is now the #1 book in the world for AI. And I have built a company called AI Leadership that helps companies harness this to align strategy, execution, and value creation.
I absolutely love it. I want to switch gears, but before I do, I got to ask, what did he say when you said, thanks for all the laughs. We've grown this huge business now. I'm going to go write a book and start a training company.
He wasn't surprised. He knew that this was for a period of time. He knew, like I was clear with him. I had a non-compete for 2 years that I was going to honor. And I saw this as something to do with him for a stint. And yeah, we were both aligned on that. And we're still friends.
I believe it. When you talk strategy, it makes so much sense to me because you mentioned in the book that AI helped him collapse weeks of thinking into a simple decision in under 30 minutes. And that was incredibly valuable. And so we've always said you can save people and make people money if you save them time. What's interesting about your book, you make the argument that in the time you save, you become exponentially smarter and the decisions and the strategies become that much better. And that's what's unique.
Yes. And even from where the book is to where it is now, we have created our own AI model that completely reinvents how meetings run. So we don't run a meeting anymore by people showing up and talking one person at a time. I was inspired by Amazon and how the first half of the meeting, the person who runs the meeting has done prep work where they create a memo. First half of the meeting is people reading the memo. Then they talk about it and make a decision. First 5 minutes of our meeting, we architect a prompt. It's heads down. People are clicking a button where AI interviews that person to pull everything out of their head they could possibly ever share in the context of the meeting. And then it aggregates it and shows on the board, here's where you're aligned, here's where you're not aligned. And then AI will start to drive the meeting by asking the right question and listening to the conversation and summarizing it and asking the follow-up question. I did this with one of the major airlines, Fortune 500 company. They had made a huge public declaration to the market that they were politically very divided against. McKinsey said, we'll send in consultants for 90 days and we'll come back and we'll show you how to get aligned. I said everything they said they do in 90 days, we're going to do in 2 hours. and literally had them click a button. AI interviewed every person on the C-suite for 15 minutes. On the board, it showed where they were aligned, where they weren't aligned, and then it asked one question that was a bomb. That erupted 45 minutes of debate in the room. AI captured every word for 45 minutes and compressed it to 5 points. And they went, holy crap. And it literally facilitated the conversation. We drove them to alignment in 2 hours.
It makes sense to me because later in the book, you say that making a great decision requires having access to the right information. But the human mind is so poor at deciding what the right information is at the right time.
Oh, yeah. Or it's the loudest voices that dominate, and sometimes the smartest information lies dormant because there's politics. So how do you drive alignment without politics? AI is great at that.
I love it. All right, man, I want to switch gears. Gang, this is the time of the show where we're going to unpack some models for you. So the models come out every Thursday. If you don't get them, go to MREAnotes.com, sign up, and they get emailed out to you in a PDF. Geoff, you're in a unique position. You have lived alongside Jay Papasan and Gary Keller. You have eaten, slept, read real estate and time management, and you're an AI Jedi. What does every real estate agent need to know about AI, and how can they start bringing it into their business today?
I'll take a controversial stance. I think most of the things you could know about AI are distractions.
Give me the good stuff.
It's the 80-20 rule. Everybody's focused on the 80% that only drives the 20. Just turn it on its head. What's the 20% that drives the 80%? So Jason, we're going to go back and forth. What is the one thing that if an agent does it exceptionally well leads to them having an extraordinary business?
Lead generate at the highest level.
Lead generate at the highest level. What is the traditional way that somebody lead generates? What's the old way of doing it?
They sit around and hope someone calls them.
Okay, let's say they're better than that.
Well, the good news is you have an audience of the highest producing real estate agents on the planet. But I think a lot of them pick up a phone in a TCPA-friendly, compliant way and reach out to their database.
Yeah. So here's where, how do you know if your message lands? How do you know if your message is effective? So, I'll give you a real example of how I have used this. Every sales call we do, we always have an AI note taker going. So we don't use auto dialers, but we always have a note taker being used. And when we are talking to somebody, we let them know that we have a note taker and we have their consent. So let's just check that off the box. What we get out of that is we get a transcript of every sales call that is ever done. I had, this happened with, when my head of business development got promoted to being president and he had to replace himself, I said, how are you going to train your replacement to sell as well as you, if not better? And he's like, I'm going to role play with them. I'm going to sit on some calls. We'll do some objections. And I was like, yeah, that's dead. That's the old way. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, okay, well, you clearly have a vision. What you got? And I said, why don't you pull the last 100 sales calls you've done, transcripts, feed it to ChatGPT, also feed it the conversion data so it knows what happened with each call, and then write a crit context. Here's the last 100 sales calls and conversion data. I'm stepping out of the head of business development and I have to train my replacement. I have what I have done and here's my average close rate, but that's the best that I can do versus the best that can be done. Your role is to act as an expert sales operator. I want you to review the last 100 conversations and identify all the patterns across there. Interview me, ask me one question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain deeper context. Then your task is to write what the ideal would look like based on actual conversion history and turn that into a scorecard of the things a sales rep would have to do consistently to improve my conversion rate. We turned that into a custom GPT inside of ChatGPT, and now we have an automation that when a salesperson hangs up, it automatically sends the transcript to the AI sales coach, which runs the transcript against the model and sends them a Slack message with the things they did well and the things they need to do differently within the next 5 minutes before their next call.
Man, what's so crazy about it, because it sounds like you're launching the missiles over there. You told me that you think this is accessible to a real estate agent if they just spend a little bit of time setting it up. Because it's easy to hear what you're saying, Geoff, and be completely overwhelmed and scared to death.
And you know how you start? once a day, every day, in a strategic way. Like, you want me to make this real simple? This is real lead domino. I want you to get 2 sticky notes and a Sharpie.
Okay.
On sticky note number 1, write, how can AI help me do this? On sticky note number 2, write context, role, interview, task. Jason, I personally have these 2 sticky notes on my desk because it's tough to read the label when you're inside the box. Every day you're doing something the old way, which is doing it without AI. I was reviewing my financial statements one month and I saw that first sticky note. I was like, well, how can AI help me do this? And I thought, what does that prompt even look like? And I saw crit and I wrote context. Here's my financial statements. And I literally dragged and dropped my financials into AI. Role. Your role is to act as a strategic CFO who's world-class at telling a CEO the top 5 things they don't know about their business based on their financials that they need to know about their business based on their financials. Interview me. Ask me 1 question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain deeper context. Then your task is to tell me what those 5 things are. That was so mind-blowing, I actually turned that into a custom project that is an AI CFO. That is our process every month for reviewing our financials. It's phenomenal.
Man,
that came from a sticky note. A sticky note.
That's what I was going to say, because I think a lot of us know the power of AI, but it's not top of mind. And so we don't bring it into the repeatable tasks in our lives, and we just keep operating the business as if.
You're searching for an AI use case versus looking at what you're already doing and making it an AI use case.
It's a big idea, man.
And by the way, in your first 90 days, I don't care what the use case is. I don't care if it's a 20% priority or not. I care that you get good at writing crit and that you learn to distinguish between the 20% and the 80%. Because at the end of the day, like, the skills that are worth mastering here, it's 3. 1 is, can you identify a 20% strategic use case? 2, can you write crit really well? 3, can you stay in the driver's seat as the thought leader? This is your thought partner. You do not follow this thing blindly. You're skeptical. You challenge it. You lead it. You do those 3 things. You move. Jason, imagine if your entire life you've only seen black and white, and I asked you to describe KW red. Can you do it?
No chance.
The reason my sales use case seemed overwhelming is because you haven't seen color yet. Once you start writing crit once a day, every day in a strategic way, you will start to see color. You will start to look at your current processes and you'll go, why am I doing that? And instead of doing what most companies are doing, which is just bolting AI on, which is actually shackling yourself to the way things used to be, you go back to first principles and you reimagine how things can be done.
Well, with this all in mind, then let's spend what will feel like an inordinate amount of time on crit. So, context, role, interview, task. Seems simple enough. Give me the hacks for this. If I've never done this before and I'm going to start this challenge tomorrow and I'm going to write my first crit.
I'm going to show you an actual visual of this.
Gang, if you're listening on the treadmill, which I know many, many of you are, or driving down the road at 80 miles an hour in the Range Rover, this will be in the notes that comes out on Thursday. So again, MREAnotes.com will have the visual.
Here you go. So, and this is literally how I write it. So in all capital letters, I'll write context, and then I'll hold down the shift key and I'll hit enter 3 times. So I skip the lines and then I'll write role in all capitals. I'll hold down the shift key. I'll hit enter 3 times. Then I'll write interview. I'll hold down shift, hit enter 3 times and write task. And the reason I do that is because if you hit the enter key without shift, it sends the prompt and you're going to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, it didn't work. So shift enter is how you skip lines. So first thing I do is I literally establish the hierarchy. So I'll show you. I'll actually do it live for you. I'm going to share my whole screen.
Walk them through it, though. Remember, it's an audio podcast for 100,000 people a month. So we're going to explain to you exactly what he's showing us.
So I am in ChatGPT. It is a blank context window. There's nothing there. I am all cap locks, context. Then I'm holding down shift and hitting enter 3 times. So I just skipped lines 3 times. Then role, interview, then task. So now all you see is you see crit on the screen with a bunch of space in between. You start there because now you know you have to fill in every single section. What do you put in the context section? And this is what's on the slide. It says, describe the problem you're facing in vivid detail. More is better. You can literally pick any problem you are facing in your real estate business, period. Literally any one, and describe it in vivid detail. The key here is more is better. If you put garbage in, you are going to get garbage out. If you ask, I want to double my business this year. Your role is to act as an expert real estate agent. You're going to get crap out of here. Versus if you say, my name's Mike Hicks. I focus in this area. We have grown our business to X volume with 90% renewals because of the promise and blah, 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 blah. And like you go off the chain with detail on the context of the situation that you are facing. Then there's role. This is where you get to harness data of the world to build world-class advisors to guide you. Your role is to act as, and then just describe the type of experts you want to advise you. Your role is to act as a world-class growth hacker who deeply understands how to use social media to drive top-of-funnel leads. You're also a world-class real estate agent who understands how to create a value proposition when people are using these AI agents and want commission pressure, and you're world-class at positioning yourself on how to charge more for higher qualities of service. Interview me. Ask me one question at a time. Up to 3 questions to gain deeper context. I would literally just type that exactly as is. And then task, I'm going to give you my favorite task. This is my 20% task. I literally use this 80% of the time. Your task is to generate 3 high impact, non-obvious strategies I could deploy to solve this problem. If you do this, AI will turn the tables and it will ask you some of the best questions you have ever been asked about the situation. And it's going to ask them one at a time. And when it asks you the first question and you answer it, Jason, what you just did is you gave it more valuable context that you would have never thought to have given it. It will use that to dynamically ask a better follow-up question, which will unlock even more valuable context. It will do that 3 times. And with all of that context, it will then give you a result. And when you get that result, know that that's the bad version, because AI is just making things up. It's just predicting the next word. It's like if I say the sky is, you think blue. It barks like a cat. Oh, cat, dog. Oh, dog. And based on your response, it learns to deliver a better result. So when I get an answer from AI, I know that's the bad answer. This is when I really stay in the driver's seat as the thought leader, and I tell it what I like about its answer. I tell it what I don't like about its answer. And then I tell it the changes I want made to its answer. It will then make the answer pretty much the best that you can do. Now let's raise our standards and go for the best that can be done. And then I flip it and tell it to act as the challenger who's world-class at stress testing plans for insufficiency. As the challenger, tell me what you like, what you don't like, the top changes. Or then act as my ideal customer and describe the actual client you're working with. It's a 57-year-old widow. She wants to sell, but deep down she doesn't want to sell because her identity and history is locked into the house. I know this is the best thing for her, but I can't figure out. Logic isn't going to win. It's going to have to be emotion. I want you to simulate her and tell me what you would like about it, what you don't like about it, the top changes that need to be made to this so that I can actually influence her to accept this offer.
You know, when you're living this life, how can AI help me? And then crit, and you become a master at both of those things. Have you seen the movie Limitless?
Whenever I speak, I will literally pull somebody out of the audience and write crit live to solve their biggest problem. I heard somebody while I was going through it go, he's like Bradley Cooper from Limitless.
Many people say I look just like the guy, but that's a side note to this next piece, which is, in my mind, this is what was happening in his mind in that movie. Because when I listen to you and I read in the book, you said, I believe with the right leadership, you can create a world where the majority of your people's time is invested in high impact priorities aligned with their strength, supercharged by AI. When I listen to you and I read that line and I think about Bradley Cooper, my twin, dude, I think that is what Limitless is all about.
I'll give you a real example. I've experienced this for myself, just in terms of how I think. I literally feel like Limitless when I'm using this. But the real impact comes when you empower your people. What is the first hire MREA says you should make?
Your future operations officer, the leader of your organization from an administrative side.
Your executive assistant who's an assistant executive. My former EA, her name is Marianella, 4 months into the job, she is a 10 out of 10 on every KPI, which meant to me that our goals were too small. It was time to create a bigger opportunity. on our one-on-one, I told her, you're killing it. You've already eclipsed all my expectations for this role, which means it's time to think bigger. I want you to use AI and I want you to write crit to identify the strengths that truly make you exceptional and how you can create a custom role where you can harness those strengths to bring 10 times to 100 times more value to the company. She goes, okay. Now let's be clear. Before working with me, she knew how to spell AI. That was it. She had never even used it. She read the book. She sat in one of my trainings on how to write crit. That's it. Okay. She comes back to me the next week, Jason. She goes, I'm ready. I go, with what? She goes, my vision. I go, all right, let's rock and roll. She goes, okay, so for me to bring 10 times more value, here's the 20% things I'm currently doing that I really need to double down on. They will bring 10x value. Here's the things that I'm not doing that based on my strengths, I really should be doing to bring 10 times more value.
Wow.
Here's all the things that I'm doing that I need to stop doing because they will prevent me from bringing 10 times more value. I have now broken these into 3 groups. Group 1, here's the stuff we just need to stop doing. They don't matter. They are distractions. 2, these are the things that still need to be done, but I think we can use AI to augment or automate it so it still gets done, just not by a human. 3, here's the things that we still need a person for. Based on that, here's a job description for my replacement. Here's their 20%. Here's their 90-day onboarding plan. Here's the competitive research for compensation. And based on that, I'm recommending we pay them X. Do I have your approval?
Wow.
I was blown away. And she goes, we're not done yet. I go, what? She goes, Geoff, that was for me to bring 10 times more value. That's not what you asked. You asked for me to bring 10 times to 100 times more value. And I'm like, oh, come on, give me the popcorn. Let's go. And she goes, here's my realization. The only way I can bring 100 times more value is if I make you 100 times more valuable. Here's a prompt I've architected so AI is going to interview you to identify how you can bring 100 times more value. And I go, I can't wait to do this. She goes, good, you'll do it now. I'll wait. And she literally waits while AI interviews me for 15 minutes and spits out a similar roadmap, but it did something different. It created a system of rules we would have to embed in the company to transform how my time gets allocated. Jason, it was literally one of the most valuable prompts I've ever done. And I told her that and she goes, yeah, but we have a problem. What's that? She goes, you love to break the rules. And I go, holy crap, you're right. And she goes, yeah, that's why I have another prompt for you. And she gave me another prompt where AI interviewed me to identify all the ways I would try to break my own rules and created a defense process. So anytime I want to break a rule, I have to go through AI first, and it actually challenges my biases and assumptions and shows me the economic impact as well as the cultural impact of me violating the rule so I make a better decision.
Man, that is so great. Dude, that's Limitless.
I promoted her. Her new title is Executive Multiplier because her job is literally to multiply my impact 100x, and I doubled her salary based on that.
There it is. And that will prove to be a very good decision, no doubt.
And that, by the way, is something every real estate agent listening to this can do. Every single one.
All right. I'm switching gears for the last minute here. I want to ask you, if I can, some quick fire questions. Is that fair?
Let's go.
I got to pick an LLM. Which one do I pick?
ChatGPT.
For everything or just across the board? That's the one?
They don't matter. They're all the same. They're all different. The difference doesn't make the difference. Pick one and use it well.
Pay for the enhanced version or don't pay for the enhanced version?
Friends don't let friends use free ChatGPT.
It's pretty good. AI for business or AI for life or AI for life and business?
Isn't it both?
That's my question to you, sir.
I'm a family man with a business, not a businessman with a family. I use it for both.
Excellent. And then my final question. At the beginning of this book, you dedicate it to your incredible wife, Amy, and amazing children. And then you list your 3 kids. You support and believe in me, and that's made all the difference, and this book is for you. I love that. For all of our listeners that have little ones at home, how should we be talking about AI and using AI and bringing them into the mix? Because I'm not sure the schools are as forward-thinking as you are.
This is the second most often asked question I get asked. This summer, I was on the East Coast, and I was in the ocean with my daughter, Daphne. She's 12, and I was literally holding her, and she said, Daddy, I want to work for your business. What job can I have? And I said, honey, you're asking the wrong question. you should be asking, what are the skills I can master that are so valuable they'll serve me no matter where I go? That's what I tell my kids, and that's what I would tell your kids. And she said, what are those skills? I said, great, let's get out of the water. And we wrote a crit. Context, I'm a 12-year-old. And I said, Daphne, why don't you describe what you think your greatest strengths are? And she did. And I said, I described where the business was going. And she said, we need to figure out what are the strengths that she has, that if she harnessed those towards skills that would become more valuable in an AI-driven world, that we could also apply to my business for AI leadership. There's an intersection between those three things that could create a job for Daphne. Your role is to act as an organizational psychologist who's world-class at helping kids identify what skills they need to master in an AI-driven future. Interview her. Ask her one question at a time, up to 5 questions to gain deeper context. Task, tell her what those skills are and what job description she could have. One of the skills it called out was communication, that it is going to become increasingly more valuable, and public speaking. Daphne wants to speak publicly. Daphne now travels with me. She's going to travel with me and open for the top 400 leaders of Air Canada in 2 weeks.
Love it. It's awesome, man. Doesn't get any better than that. Geoff, you are such a great friend to real estate agents everywhere. You have given so much of your heart to this industry, along with many others. On behalf of everyone who you've affected, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you're doing.
It's my pleasure, Jason. Good to see you.
It's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside the box. Gang, that's what he said. And when he said it, it absolutely blew my mind because he's 100% right. Listen, I'd be lying to you if I said that I use AI every single day in my business or my life. Now, do I use it a heck of a lot more than I used to? Sure. But am I getting as much out of it as Geoff Woods? Absolutely not. And why is it? It's because in our day-to-day lives, we do things the way we always have. You see, if you wake up and believe that you're living on free will, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Gary Keller told me, less than 10% of your decisions are actually decisions from free will. Most of them are habits built into your life. They're a robotic program that we're running. Ask yourself this question. Did you wake up, brush your teeth the same way you did yesterday? Did you take the exact same path to work today? Did you do the same workout? Heck, are you eating most of the same foods on a weekly basis? The answer to all these things is absolutely yes, because habits define who we are. The simplicity is the genius in Geoff's approach, as it always is, because the best things in life are always the most simple, and yet everything naturally becomes more complicated. If I told you that 2 Post-it notes would be the thing that would unlock perhaps the greatest technological leap in humankind, you wouldn't believe me, but I think they just might. The first Post-it note would say, how can I use AI to do this? And the second one would simply say CRIT, context, role, interview, and task. You see, if those 2 Post-it notes were in front of you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you would use AI more often. I don't think, I know. That's what Geoff just told us. And if you started using AI more often, do you think that the ultimate end effect would be that you would be less productive or more productive? Do you think you'd make better decisions or worse decisions? Do you think you'd have more time or less time? And ultimately, do you think you'd find more joy? Do you think you'd make more money? Do you think you might have deeper relationships? I would venture to guess that the answer to most, if not all, is yes. So the question is this: why have you chosen no? I'll tell you what I'm going to do, friends. As soon as I walk out of this studio, the studio that brings the podcast listened by more real estate agents than any other one, the People's Podcast, I'm going to get myself 2 Post-it notes, and I'm going to change the rest of my life. Go forth and do likewise.